on the minute now.
Sorry, I'm busy with the
Yeah.
pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
Tentacle pumpkin is 13.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want me to focus on? Did your cats ever have babies over here?
Oh yes, oh yes. There have been a
Uh,
couple of boxes produced by the pair,
wow.
and they're due in about another 2 days for another one.
Wow.
Okay, if we can get ready to go silent, we're about to go in. Got, 30 seconds or so. And about to cue pet. And 10 seconds to go. Well, greetings everybody, and welcome once again to the latest edition of the Inworld Review, where it is the 20th day of October 2013, of course. And despite the fact I'm surrounded by an array of pumpkins, I was going to announce that we only have 1 week to go before Halloween, but as we know, Halloween is celebrated from the 1st of October in Second Life, which is where we're filming. So I suppose it's inevitable that we're surrounded by symbols of the season. More on that, I'm sure, from Tara shortly. So, welcome to the show. We start, as usual, with just a couple of headlines that I have from what you might call the greater metaverse, OpenSim, and places like that. As usual, most of the news comes via Maria Korolev, Type Grid Business. $250,000 of project model cities in OpenSim. 4 years ago, Krista Lindstorm was looking for ways to help cities create virtual models of new urban planning projects. And they're doing so via virtual worlds. If you want to know more about that, check out hypergridbusiness.com. Right. Rutgers magazine. This is an American magazine. I've heard of it, but I don't really know it. However, a Rutgers Camden law professor studies the legal implications of freewheeling online communities. This was a post that came out during the week, and you need to go to magazine.rutgers.edu/departments/fall-2013/insights/ new virtual sheriff in town. All of those words have a dash between them. It's recent enough that I'm sure if you just go to magazine.co.edu, you will no doubt find the link. Interesting stuff there. We will have more discussion on legal stuff very shortly indeed. Again, according to Maria, on Wednesday, the OpenSim land area has hit yet another new high. The top 40 OpenSim grids have reached 28,705 regions. That's an increase of 578 regions in the last month. And I'm not going to read out the registered users and everything else. That's all expanding too. But again, you can find details at Hypergrid Business. Something I found this morning that I tweeted, can't really tell you much about it, but if you go to opensim-creations.com, the latest post there, that's actually a very good site if you want to download buildings, fashion, and everything else for using an OpenSim. You can download from there and then upload to your grid or your home grid. A new kind of hypergrid list. This is something that you okay. I have a little alert here. An edit since I saw it this morning saying downloads removed until clarification. So you can't actually download this at the moment. But basically, it's some kind of system that uses Inworld resin device and allows you to build your own kind of hypergrid destination list. So if you want more about that, go to opensim-creations.com. And oh, that's very nifty. It looks like that was all my prime points. Just check there's nothing else here before we move on. Yeah, they're the usual bunch of posts. Too many to mention, basically, on using classrooms in OpenSim and stuff like that. JustinCC.org, as well as the regular posts on the state of OpenSim. Justin had a post up earlier in the week, running a conference in Open Simulator, the technical side part 1. Largely, this is about lessons learned from the recent Open Simulator community conference, but technical challenges involved in putting on such events. So it's of interest to others as well as Avacon and company. This is a repeat blog. There was a post about a Parkinson's patient exploring virtual worlds, largely Second Life, in fact. This actually came out a few weeks ago, but it's getting a lot of sort of reprint traffic, shall I say. I guess it's gone to a syndicate and been picked up by papers all over the place. So that's getting a lot of mileage, that article. And yep, I think we're TikTok. Yes, I think we've got to the end of my main list here. Actually, there was one other post that may be of interest was called Walking with Avatars in Virtual Reality. You can find that at metaverse-traveler.blogspot.com. So, as always, if you want more of these links, and there are plenty in the week, do follow me. I have 2 accounts, but the one you want for the Open Metaverse is twitter.com/malburns, or one word. And I also have an additional account, twitter.com/malburns_writer, which is my Second Life avatar name, which is Inworld links for Second Life and some of the other closed grids like Inworlds and Navigations. So you can check out both, or one or the other, depending on which you prefer. Or, of course, alternatively, you can check out none of them, in which case, why am I talking? It's about time to hand over to my colleague Tara Yates for her roundup of what's been going on during the last week. So over to you, Tara.
Thank you, Mel. And greetings, everyone, from the Pacific Northwest, where out my window at the moment, it is still a tad bit foggy, but probably will burn off in another hour or so. And I might note that I think it is tomorrow. It could be Tuesday. I'm not sure without actually checking a different calendar. Is the official first day of autumn, and pumpkins. Mel are actually are a harvest element, which have been appropriated and carved for Halloween. And you'll notice in the pumpkin assortment here in front that actually there's only one that has a face on it, and the rest of them are not carved yet. So they're still getting ready for Halloween. Well, I take it back. There's 2 others that are sort of carved. They've been hollowed out. One has a cat in it, and the other has some sort of creature with tentacles that come out of it when it gets clicked on. I just did, and hopefully it'll warm up and do its little thing here pretty soon. Anyhow.
There we are. Oh,
there it comes. Yeah, there we have a tentacle. Yeah, we have a tentacle coming out of it now. Yes, indeed. Okay.
I'm looking at the other one that's open. The cat with a lid on.
Oh yeah, the kitty cat with the lid on. That's actually from last year. But on the arm of my chair next to me is one of this year's kitty cats special. Actually, they're being referred to as the Mystical Collection 2013. There are 3 different varieties, and each variety has multiple incarnations. This happens to be the Hell of a Kitty, Kitteh, is one of them, and they actually come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different color schemes. This actually happens to be one of my favorites of the options, but they're just wonderful. And next week you'll get to meet the Super Cats. Super Cats, is that what they're called? Yeah, Super Cats, and also there's Silly Spooks, which which I will have to bring in a black box because they're spook cats, and so they're very transparent, and you have to either view them at midnight or in a black background. But you'll see those next week, anyhow. And I'm also I realized that in my inventory I must have enough witch hats. No comments from the Peanut Gallery about any representations. That I could wear a different witch hat every day of the month for the month of October. This happens to be this year's freebie release from my neighbor Ra Rahula and the Happy Hat, which is in Manjiang Sim, which is just right across the Sim border from where we are right now. Her shop is over on the far side of the Sim, but anyway, you can pick up this very hat yourself if you like it and want to add it to your own collection. And it's a lovely freebie this year. So have at it. Well, it seems to go on to some a little meatier news here. There's been lots of buzz about the Oculus Rift and continuing buzz about the Oculus Rift, but the Oculus Rift is not the only show in town. And there has been a new Kickstarter startup this week that actually first made its appearance at the May 2013 Maker Faire in New York, being called the Castar, Castar, and this looks rather cool. It's actually being developed so it can be both an augmented reality and a virtual reality set of glasses, and it's more like a set of glasses. What's interesting about, well, a couple things are interesting. This the Kickstarter launched on the 14th with a $400,000 goal. By the 18th, it had raised over 500,000 US dollars, and today when I went and looked, it was over 550,000. So it's doing rather nicely as far as its money raising. But what's really interesting about this, it was actually sort of a mistake. This is one of these. I think one of these stories that, who knows, maybe 15 years from now will be used, like the story of how Post-it notes happened with a failed adhesive. This was a case of a mistake made building some virtual reality, augmented reality glasses using a beam splitter and a projector, but they were put in backwards, and so instead of projecting back at the eye, they projected out into the room. And the designer, Jerry Ellsworth, just happened to have had a piece of retroreflective material in the room that the beam caught on and created an image. Anyway, it's a very cool story. And in her own talking about it, she was looking at the issue of that's been noted, we've noted with the Oculus Rift, is it's often stressful for some people and causes headaches and nausea when you have a display near your eyes. And so this puts it out in front of you at a more natural distance for your eyes. Plus, these are being designed as they're regular glasses. They don't completely enclose your eyes, which is very cool. And for the virtual reality piece of it, for example, for Second Life, there's an add-on piece, the way they're creating them, that will put the reflection up more in a wraparound sort of situation. But and the other interesting element of this is a device that's being developed as part of it that they call, just a minute, gotta find the note here, called the Castar Wand, which you'll be able to use for various functions with buttons, an analog joystick, tracking trigger, and a removable end piece. So it's a device that goes with, or can. And what was the other thing? In Anara Pei's blog, she talks about it. It's a good resource if you want to get some of the details. She notes that it may be possible that you'll be able to look over the top of these if So, for example, if you were using them for Second Life, you'd be able to potentially look over the top of them in order to use your keyboard and see what you're typing. So that's kind of cool too, as a possibility. Anyway, these look rather interesting. The basic starter pack you can get on you can sign up for on Kickstarter for about 190 US dollars, and there's various other options. Looks like the release really isn't for about a year, so if you've got the money to spare and you can forget about it for that long, then yeah, here's your opportunity. So you can either go to an Arapays blog for a link, or go to Kickstarter.com and in the search type in Castar, Castar will get you there too. So I think this whole Google Glass and everything else end of things is going to continue to heat up and get very interesting over the next couple of years. Let's see the other item I have. Let's see, we got obviously yes, Burn 2 opened yesterday and runs this week, so get in and check it out. And also going on right now is the 4th annual Bay City Halloween Hay Maze. It's at their fairgrounds area, which is in the North Channel region. Full of exciting, scary Halloween things and terror. Enter at your own risk. That's their own promo. So don't take my word for it, take theirs. And obviously there's a bunch of discussion and I think some insights on the whole toss issue from a panel that was done yesterday, and happily we have the person who hosted that here with us today, and so I'm sure we will get a full rundown on that, and so I won't even talk about it. And I think I've run out of stuff for now, so back to you, Mel.
Well, thank you, Tara. Quite short there, as was mine. It must be Halloween taking over. Yeah, I must say that new Kickstarter set of goggles, or whatever you want to call them, it looks nice. We've got the space glasses coming up too, haven't we? But it's nice to see something that isn't so overwhelmingly like a space helmet that the Oculus Rift is. There was one post in the week where Oculus Rift people said they had tackled the sort of what do we call it? The sort of emotional tactile detached business. But we'll wait and see. I think wearing something like that is without real world cues is going to be cumbersome anyway. And also interestingly, what I remember, because I didn't have this in my notes, something quite significant this week came from researchers in China who are now successfully making light bulbs which act as Wi-Fi antennas and broadcast. And apparently one very significant thing about this is, well, not only do you just plug in a light bulb and it becomes a Wi-Fi point, except it's called Li-Fi, as in light-fi. But one of the interesting things about this is as more people get wired broadband and have their own Wi-Fi systems, the traffic actually gets slower because of the way Wi-Fi works. I mean, you'll often find that if you've got home Wi-Fi, it can get rather slow and you may need to rescan for channels that aren't so busy. Even though it's your own private Wi-Fi, so to speak, it may be actually operating on channels that are now getting more and more clogged, as is the way of things. And apparently this Li-Fi operated by light bulbs eradicates that problem too. For some reason, it sort of separates the traffic or something, so you won't experience slowdowns through neighbors' light bulbs. Well, apparently, and then maybe that will change when everybody has Li-Fi light bulbs. Anyway, just a bit of tech news.
Li-Fi? Call it Li-Fi, did you say?
Li-Fi, Li-Fi. Yeah, as opposed to Wi-Fi, but it is Wi-Fi. It's just called Li-Fi.
Right.
And yeah, you know, some you know, I think that traffic economy may be something that will work to its advantage. And of course, being able to just plug in, I suspect, rather more costly light bulb than the ones we're used to, will be a very useful way to get Wi-Fi too. So you can imagine people changing hotel lights and things like that when they arrive. I don't know, but interesting things in technology there coming along, and I do like the idea of that wand. That's my old CDI machine, which we're talking about early 90s here, where it's before CD-ROMs really. They used to play CDs with art galleries and games and stuff like that. And I had a thing which was its official name was an air mouse, but it looked like a gun. But it was quite neat. It had buttons on it and stuff. So you clicked to shoot, and you pressed to point and things like that. So from a distance, you could point at your TV screen and sort of navigate whatever you're doing, and then lock the cursor on something and fire at it. And this worked just as well using an encyclopedia as it did work in a shoot-up game. So it did look. I think it's no surprise that guns were invented. Shaped the way they are because the way they fit in the hand and operate is bloody convenient. I'm not into shooting people, but as a device to navigate from a distance, they work rather well. This one, old one, CDI one, is infrared, but it did require a sort of trailing wire to the gun as well, so they calibrated. But quite interesting there. I mean, something like a wand does sound to me like a very useful sort of device, something you can wave, but also very specifically point. So yeah, we'll see what we'll see on that front, I guess. As time goes by. Where's my trackpad? Okay, so I think it's about time we introduced our guest. Now, it seems week after week after week, we have been talking about the Linden Lab terms of service for both the lab in general and for Second Life specifically. They have a TOS now that runs to both. And it's been one of these things that wasn't a big fuss when it actually happened. There was some fuss, but gradually it has become something of an issue for an awful lot of people. Last week we mentioned that Brno had departed. Was it last week or the week before, the LEA because of this? But interestingly, this week. I can't remember his second name, but the former Carl Linden, who is behind the. Sorry?
Fizzy. Carl Fizzy.
Carl Fizzy, thank you. Who's behind the mesh? I can't think of his thing either. The mesh avatar points rigging.
Yes, deformer.
Yeah, exactly. The mesh deformer. That's it. A man of many talents here. Has been operating since he left the lab, doing all these things for the community that basically the lab can't get around to doing themselves. But he too has joined the Exodus. He's just declared that these new terms of service are just totally untenable, and he's not having any of it, which seems to be the increasing view amongst a lot of people. Now, yesterday. There was a large panel with some IP and basically lawyers, experts, discussing this issue even further. Our regular camera here, Petlove, was filming it. There was a live stream on AV's channel, Lepiskin's channel, Pison's channel, sorry, and we actually will be getting a copy of the film, which has just gone up at Vimeo apparently, and we'll be playing it on this channel as soon as we get a copy downloaded and re-uploaded. If you see what I mean. It does go on for about 2.5 hours, so we're not going to feature it in this show or such. It would be just a sort of a special insert. However, as Tara mentioned, we have one guest here who was hosting the whole thing as well as Petlove filming it. So I think we're going to get a pretty adequate commentary of what went on there, along with some of the other issues involved. So let me start by just introducing our panel individually. First off, on my far right, we have, as ever, or almost always, the wonderful Petlove Petshop. Hi, Pet.
Hello.
Pet also being our regular camera person too, so she's quite used to multitasking, which means filming and talking all at once. And as I just mentioned, she actually filmed yesterday's event. I'd also like to welcome Kylie Angel. In fact, Kylie Angel Skyborn, to use her full avatar name. New to the show. She actually is behind, is it the CCPSL? Have I got
It's
that?
the UCCSL, United Content Creators of SL.
That's right. Okay. Which we have actually mentioned in previous shows. It's a bit long-winded, so I'm just going to have to get used to the letters, aren't I? But as well as being the person behind that, she was also the host of yesterday's program. So welcome, Kylie.
I'm glad to be here.
And moving over to Tara's side, so to speak, it's like having a panel show here, isn't it? On Tara's side, we have Debs Butler from Virtual London, and she, of course, was here along with Will Burns a couple of weeks back, and this discussion went on and on. Debs, of course, has moved the principal Virtual London to Avination. And also has concerns about the terms of service here in Second Life. So welcome, Debs.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
And,
thank you.
Okay, we'll get into chat in a sec.
Yeah.
Finally, I'd like to welcome back. She was with us last week, but we've got a return visit from Panther Chanel, who's not only behind the 48-hour film Machinima project in SL, but as interested in cinema and all these creative things too. So welcome back, Panther.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, I think the place to start is the place we're going to be pretty much focused on, because it seems to be happening every week right now, is actually Linden Lab's terms of service. For those of you who don't know or haven't watched any previous shows recently, a few months ago, or at least several weeks ago, Linden Labs introduced a new terms of service for its users. And basically, when people tried to log in, they got the usual pop-up window saying, we've changed our terms of service, you need to agree to these new ones. Most people, of course, could not get into, nobody was allowed into Second Life unless you agreed to those new terms of service. So quite naturally, most people thought, oh, I know terms of service, upgrade, click it, agree to it, and then everything's normal. You can come back in and do stuff in World. But the suggestion, well, it's more than a suggestion, was that this was a major change, and that copyright ownership and stuff like that, or at least permission to use your copyright material, has suddenly reverted to the lab as opposed to the individual, which is what we tend to think of when we're playing with a tool set in Second Life. It's sort of like playing with a tool set in Photoshop. Adobe are not going to make any claim on the painting you do with Photoshop, and we don't expect Linden Labs to make any claim on the creations we make with their software. But the issues go on and on and on, and more people, including the people like the fashionista community and things, who tend to be a wee bit slower sometimes in picking up these things, have sort of beginning to raise their voices, as well as Qual making his thing known this week. So I'd like to go first to Kylie. Welcome again, Kylie. I think maybe a good place to start is with the highlights or any important stuff that came out of yesterday's panel and broadcast, and then maybe move on to the content creators project itself. So I'll hand it to you.
Well, thank you. I think what was so surprising to the attorneys who put this together out of the SL Bar Association was the overwhelming response. They actually did move it to the Rose Theater at the very last minute, pretty much that night before. We had 90 people on the sim. We had 70 in an adjoining sim. We had people trying to get onto the homesteads that surround us. So it was amazing. And what we found out is what I had suspected from the beginning. Pretty much they confirmed all of what we've been thinking, and we were all waiting to see if they were going to disagree with us, because not everybody in the community thinks that the TOS is bad. They think, I mean, there's a range of it's inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it to I don't get the big deal to the rest of us that are like, this is not good news, folks. So the attorneys did confirm that. What the biggest issue is the whole to do whatever you want with our stuff. What does it say? It's like to do whatsoever, use any way we want. We can take your work, we can change it, we can modify it, we can take your name off of it, we can sell it, we can resell it. By the way, those are not the two evil words we found out. But we don't have to pay you. We don't even have to let you know about it. It's one of the most heinous terms of service around, maybe only superseded by LinkedIn. Uh, it goes too far.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to get into speculation to why they did it. I know a lot of people are very concerned about the whys. And that's speculation. There's nothing we control over that. The fact is, I'm an artist. I sell my work in the real world. I have my work available to be sold in major wholesale distribution channels. One of the things you're going to want is, Ms. Sabra, do you have unencumbered rights to your work? Well, thank you, Linden Lab. I no longer do. As a result, I did yesterday close my gallery at the Rose, not the Rose. The Rose Gallery is still there. Bianca and Walter Gettinspire are now curating for me. But I took my work out, and a lot of us are doing that. Mathilde Vargon is no longer producing. I have to give a chuckle because this morning Gracie Kendall used her LEA sim, which we all know is paid for by Linden Lab, to do a performance piece where she empties and destroys her inventory.
Yeah. It was the last. Did she manage it today? It was the
Brilliant.
final.
She did.
It was the final throw, wasn't it, of everything?
Wow.
So that's the issue, is this going entirely too far. It doesn't just affect artists, it affects anyone who's going to resell their work anywhere else. Fashion designers frequently use Second Life to test market their product. They're going to run into the same issue. All of a sudden, the pattern that they created and belonged, no longer do they hold full rights to.
Absolutely, yeah. Tommy, did the clearly there's a lot of speculation on reasoning at Linden Lab, so we'll put that aside for the moment. But something else that has come up here in discussions is on the legal side, at least, is that most people seem to contend that anything uploaded and submitted to Second Life before the change is actually subject to the terms of service before the change legally, and that therefore only people who sign a new TOS actually are subject to the recent changes. Did they shed any light on that yesterday, that specific thing?
They did, and actually there's some debate on whether that's even true. It is very possible that they did talk about that. Do you remember, Pat?
Yeah, they said that it was highly questionable that to overlay one agreement on top of another like that.
Exactly.
They didn't hold out a lot of hope. They said once you've agreed to the new one, courts may find that you're stuck with the new one, but that it's questionable the way they did it. They described these types of agreements as having their own category, which are automatically wrong and illegal to begin with. They said that the law would be upheld or tested in California, since Linden Labs is in California, and they discussed the fact that the California consumer laws have lost a lot of their strength lately, but and that they wouldn't be a lot of help for the consumer per se, but that this type of agreement is essentially very contestable.
They did, yeah.
So I mean, but they said also that it would take quite a lot of money to push it through the courts, and who's got that?
Actually, there is another way, though, which is the way the UCCSL is going. And if you remember at the end of the attorneys, by the way, were Juris Amat, who actually sits on our council. She represents, she sits on our council as legal tactical team leader. Amazing lady, totally believes that the TOS is pretty much, what can I say, a pile of poop. So, Anyway, also we had Agenda Fairmont and Tim
Mm-hmm.
Faith on the panel. But at the end of Agenda's presentation, she said basically there's three ways that we can go about this. You can go about this with peaceful resolution, which we are attempting. I'm sending a letter out from the UCCSL Monday morning to Linden Lab asking for a sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Good.
highly unlikely that will happen. But if it does, we will go in with wording that we find acceptable. Um,
Good.
the other one is lawsuit, which again, a lot of money there.
Mm-hmm.
None of us have that. Maybe someday, if we get enough behind us, we can all go in together on that. But the other one was pretty aggressive, and that's the way the UCCSL is going. If we can't reach some resolution with Linden Lab, what we'll be doing is a major letter writing campaign, a major publicity campaign, and the letters will be going to Federal Trade Commission, Department of Justice, Intellectual Property Division, the State of California Attorney General.
That's good.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
and they actually recommended that, which was awesome because it just made sense to me that you go that way. I'm looking at this. I'm not an attorney, but to me, it just reeks of this is not even legal. Who's tried it? Facebook, Instagram, Google. They've all been pretty shut down.
It's it is astonishing to me that in this digital age, going beyond the metaverse as such here, there are companies who really seem to me to be taking liberties. Even your ISP will give you terms of service, and in the small print, it will say things like, "We can change it at any time." Back in the 1970s, I used to dabble in copyright law because I was an agent for artists, and you sold originals, you sold first rights, you sold second rights, you divided those internationally. There was all sorts of control, that you brought back to the artist, and any contract I ever signed, had a clause in it. Well, not a clause in it. It was simply say that this is an agreement between two parties, and
Exactly.
that
Mm-hmm.
it was binding. There might be a clause that saying this can be renegotiated at any point, or after 12 months is subject to renegotiation, or something like that. But the emphasis is on renegotiation.
Hmm.
It was I don't know the law in Britain here, of course, is different, but it was totally acceptable to have a contract which, one party would consider non-binding.
They have
That was,
absolutely no choice, and
yeah,
and that's the hole that might serve the consumers here. Yeah.
yeah,
The other thing that happened is that in May of this year, we lost 30-day notice. So at least at that point, if you logged in and you read the terms of service, a day or two later, or you logged in to get your stuff, you were on a store, you need to check out things,
yeah,
and you read it and couldn't accept it, you could pick up your toys and go home. Essentially, the way this was done, you had to log in
yeah.
to get your stuff, at which point you've already
You
agreed
lost it.
to the terms.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
not legal. That can't be legal. That's ridiculous.
in another world, I would call
Can
that.
I?
I would simply call that fraud.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, that
Debs.
Can I
sounds
just
like
have a
theft.
word
Yeah,
here?
it's simple theft
Well,
to me. It's kind of like,
yeah.
hey, we're going to take your stuff away, and you can't get at it anyway, so we've already got it. Thank you very much. Bye.
See ya, sucker.
Yeah, but can I make a comment here?
Yes,
Sure,
come here.
sure.
Yeah, Debs.
To,
Debs.
to these people, okay, Linden Lab is a big organisation, great offices in San Francisco, all the rest of it. We're devoted. We're their customers. We are so committed to them.
And
Why are they? It's like sticking arsenic in Coca-Cola if you're Coca-Cola.
Well,
it's like,
to be
mhm.
honest, I mean, we're not just their customers. They wouldn't have a product if we weren't here.
Yeah,
We're their
You
bread and
know,
true,
butter.
true.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I don't just mean that as people who are customers who have an account, log in, go to a concert, and log out again, or something like that. I mean, the large percentage of people who are creators or do things one way or another in here that they have a vested interest in. And it's often said that Second Life, as with most of the open sim grids, is can't really be defined, but is ultimately a platform created by its users. There is no product that isn't actually created by the users. So
Just doesn't make sense.
if you scare off your users because you're going to
Mm,
steal their work, then you don't have a user base, and you therefore don't have a viable product, which is very odd.
self-defeating,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, at least they're
Just
consistent. They drove the educators out. They're
Yeah,
driving
they're
us
gone.
out. I mean,
they're trying to get the educators back.
yeah, but nobody trusts them anymore. They are consistently shooting themselves in the foot, and you have to say to yourself, why? I mean, I don't think they mean to be malicious. They probably think they're making sound business decisions, but let's get them to look at what they're actually doing because it's a shame. We could all get along.
Agreed.
Everybody could be
One
happy, but
one
no.
one of the biggest farces here, though, to my mind, came about a couple of weeks after the change. When Linden Labs actually posted, and it wasn't exactly an apology, but they posted sort of, "We're sorry about the confusion. We didn't really mean that we're going to do blah blah blah." But that wasn't followed up by any action. That was just a
Right.
statement of sort of, "Oh, we don't mean it really," but there was no retraction, there was no
Mm-mm.
reversal, nothing. So why bother saying,
Mhm.
apologies if we've upset you? It seemed rather pointless.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's a shame. It really is because, Second Life is so unique and so full of really talented people. I mean, smart people, you need to, be fairly functional mentally just to make the browsers run, which is another issue. So you've got a
It's
lot of
true.
really bright, tenacious people in here, and I don't understand why they don't really take full advantage instead of shutting everybody down the way they do. Eh,
Well, then that leads into the speculation of what they're doing this for.
Mm.
It may not matter to them what we're feeling or what we're going through because I mean, you have to wonder
well, just from the
because they
standpoint,
are so
I,
mhm,
effectively trying to shut it down.
they just want to make money, and so does everybody else. The way they go about trying to do it, though, is the question. It's like,
Right.
mm.
what are you doing exactly? Why are you
Well,
doing it?
are they
I
trying to make themselves look better on paper? I mean, because otherwise they're a bunch
Probably.
of servers with some employees.
Yes, that's a good point.
But without the content, there's no real value there.
Yeah,
It's
that's right,
value is
Kylie.
in the content,
Mm.
and
I'm
And
we're the ones that
reading
did it.
I'm reading. I get it's probably La Piscian actually who's commenting on
yeah.
the chat on the channel. And I'm going to quote him.
Mm.
Basically, he says that most of us see this issue as a creator content issue, but he can't help feeling that the civil rights violations that are being created, communities and relationships are being torn apart as sides are chosen. And he follows on, united we stand, divided we fall. So if our friends leave their cell, it won't be long before we follow them
Mhm.
as they followed us in the beginning. Which,
It's
reiterates
true.
this, doesn't it? I mean,
It does.
it's the self-defeating nature of what's going on.
Yeah,
I think
unfortunately,
Kylie's right, actually. Sorry,
yeah.
I think Kylie's right that it's about balance sheet. If they're looking for something like a sale or looking for something um, like an acquisition,
Mm.
then they need to show assets on the balance sheet and look at the assets they've got.
Yeah.
But we discussed this previously too, and that
Mm.
is apart from the fact whether those assets would be legally theirs, um, is those assets are very peculiar to Second Life. Now, some of those assets would be deployable in things like OpenSIMs, which are based on very similar code. But they're certainly not adaptable for, I don't know, Creativerse and Patterns and all these other products that they're churning out. It makes you wonder where, the only thing that I can think of that would be a useful asset for resale is mesh items that are now being imported,
Mhm.
because you could export the mesh and sell it on Desira or whatever to use in the mesh based game platforms, for example. But the
Yep.
vast majority
Yeah.
of what they will be claiming as assets is not realizable assets. The
Mm.
assets are part and parcel of the product, and they have no real value, for the company outside the platform. Um, so I'm very dubious about that argument. unless they want to simply put a figure on the assets if they wanted to go public
That's
or
true.
something like that.
But also, Mel, the mesh items that we've got aren't built to the game standard. There is a very strong game standard
Mm.
that all mesh items for games have to be built to. And whether we exceed it, whether we are below it, I don't know. But we it's not they're not built to
Right.
conform to these
Mm.
standards, and that's very important.
Well, it's always been, it's always been a workaround business getting mesh into Second Life. But I mean, I assume that if you upload a mesh into Second Life, you've obviously got your copy offline, and your offline copy can be edited or modified for another platform. Um, that's and if there was ever any ever legal case here, I suspect that a lot of it that would be a major clincher, because we have seen prior to TOS change a move which I've always recommended to people creating offline. You can have your own OpenSim installation. There's loads of software you can use if you want to create mesh, and then you upload it as a sole entity that is your property into Second Life to deploy in Second Life. Now, arguably at this point, Linden's will say it becomes their property, but you have the original offline. And what would Linden's do to stop you deploying the same property to other places, regardless?
Well, indeed, the TOS doesn't do that. It doesn't preclude you from using it the way you want. It's just that
Yeah,
you have a co-owner now.
Yeah,
yeah,
if you sell something, do you have to give them half the money,
No,
No way! I don't
no.
think that
no,
works that way.
But this is it,
no,
let's say
no.
let's say I build a magnificent exhibition hall, filled with Phil, for example, with a load of my other stuff, from the web or from real life, brought it, recreated somehow, and I do all that on the standalone OpenSim, so nobody sees it at all until I connect to the hypergrid or something, and then I take that whole unit and bring it into Second Life and deploy it. And let's say this, of course, will never happen, but let's say it's such a superb job that everybody in Second Life is saying, "Wow, wow, wow! This is the biggest thing ever," and therefore it gets really noticed. And Linden Labs, of course, will be the first to put it in the destination guide, and they will no doubt, sort of hype it up as a use of Second Life. And equally, they will, under terms of service, they will claim it's theirs and they can do what they want with it, and etc., etc. But meanwhile, the original of this is actually sitting on my hard disk, and maybe I've got it backed up somewhere too. And I could electronically send a copy of the all files or something like that. And yeah, this is a trick I use in real life. I mean, if I write a novel, never have done, but I've written a lot of training guides and things. What I do is I print out the manuscript, staple it all together, and put it in a sealed envelope and mail it back to myself. And I never open it.
Poor man's
Because,
copyright.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because the date on it, if it can be opened in
The
court,
postal stamp, yeah.
the postmark will
Hmm.
define the date and prove it's mine. And there are ways of doing this with electronic files. You can sort of send them, and log the time and date it was sent as authentication. So this OR file, or whatever my big exhibition is, I can back up and I can keep a secure copy that proves the date I created it and that I created it. So if now, as you say, I can still deploy that to an OpenSim grid or put it on the hypergrid or whatever. But because, and this is the reason I've been a bit convoluted about this, because this was such a spectacular thing that went in the destination guide and Linden Labs put out there to say this is, isn't this marvelous? This is what Second Life can be. Then they would pretty seriously notice if I deployed it somewhere else. Now, I think I'd be right in deploying it somewhere else, and that I wouldn't. That Linden Labs have no claim on that. But it'd be a very interesting case because if Linden Labs are using that creation of mine to attract customers for Second Life, what would they do if I'm deploying it elsewhere and attracting more customers to the
I
elsewhere?
don't believe
And
there's anything in the
equally,
TOS that will allow that that's an issue.
Mm,
Um, it's not that you can't use your own stuff any way you want to. The issue is that they can also use your stuff any way they want to.
mm.
So no, it doesn't preclude you from using your stuff anywhere else. Um, Other than what rights there are other issues there might be like textures that are not permitted to leave Second Life, those kind of things that you agree
Like
to.
logos and copyright symbols and
Right,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Well,
right.
of course, the reason leading on from this, we've had a lot of reports on blogs exactly concerning textures, not textures that I might have created or used in that build, because if I did it offline, I would do it offline. But I guess they're like photo banks, people that supply textures for use by creators, and that either pay for them or maybe you don't pay for them. They've got a free license, but they're now saying you cannot upload those to Second Life because under Second Life's terms of service, you will be giving away rights that you don't have in
Right.
these
Yes.
textures.
They talked about
So
that too yesterday.
um,
They
Yeah.
did,
Hmm.
mm,
but they actually said that wasn't an issue. They said there was nothing in the Second Life TOS that should have that CG textures and renderosity should have acted or reacted to the way they did. There was really nothing there that should have affected them that way. That was per agenda Fairmont. Do you
Hmm.
remember that? Yeah, she was shocked that they had that reaction.
mm.
She was very sharp. She was right to the point and so concise and so
Very.
knowledgeable. I was really impressed. She was great.
I suppose if the texture companies, they are separate companies. They've simply read the TOS and on the surface thought, well, we can't allow imports to Second Life if that's the case. Whereas
Hmm.
maybe they're jumping
yeah, but you
jumping the
talk
gun a
about
bit.
Hmm.
Debs, yeah.
you're talking about brand logos and things like that. I mean, how many people in Second Life use illegal brand logos? Quite a lot, actually.
Mm.
And they turn a blind eye to that, which is interesting because does that belong to them?
Hmm.
Well, I'll give you another example. I was he does a regular weekly gig for us, a Mankind Tracer gig last night, and behind him last night he had two signs where people could buy CDs, and these are special sort of CDs. You can download them onto your computer and play them offline. So you do actually buy a digital version of the CD anyway, but the actual device by which you buy them is a vendor that he's rezzed in World. And the magic is that you can actually get an in-world version of his CD as well as an offline version that you can play offline. Now, the problem for him will be very simple. That it does, under this new terms of service, does the second digital copy, the one that exists in Second Life, belong to him or does it belong to Linden Labs? And if he becomes suddenly, as some musicians have a habit of doing, becoming a big name real world artist, will Linden Lab be claiming the right to that they have the rights to the in world music he produced? And this is not just a lightweight thing. Over here in the UK, we have the BBC, which is basically is paid for by the taxpayer. You have to buy a compulsory license to watch TV, whether it's the BBC or anybody else. And obviously, the BBC has this sort of clout in its name. But there have often been, especially in the past, very complex situations where a band will perform live on television, and the BBC hold the copyright in the recordings of the band that were actually performed live for broadcast. Um,
Really?
these days the big bands, you'll never get a Rolling Stones or something appearing on the BBC, except with they were at Glastonbury last year, and half the concert was broadcast, and nobody knew what was going on to the last minute because the Stones were flatly refusing to give the BBC any copyright.
Hmm.
But when it's the Stones, you come to a compromise, don't you? But I'm thinking lesser artists have had this problem. Now, it may seem a far cry from what I was just talking about, But if I'm a musician and I distribute in world a special digital copy of my music that is like a CD that plays in world, who does it belong to? And who does that? Who does the music belong to? Arguably, it's like a fashion designer, any other creator. It belongs to me, and that I'm self-distributing and deploying it. But
Okay,
arguably,
Mal, I will have to raise a question mark here because I would guess that what mankind has is a device which is basically a player. And what it's playing is a digital file that is not in Second Life, but is on the web. And so it's a database interface to an to a server that is
yeah,
outside Second Life that is actually feeding the stream into Second Life.
yeah,
So the actual recording is not in Second Life because the reality is in order to do a single song that the recording is actually in Second Life, you have to break it into 10-second bits because of the way audio in-world sound, actual in-world sound works. I cannot imagine, I cannot fathom a musician who would do that to an entire album. That is an
yeah.
exercise for the extreme obsessive.
Okay,
This
well,
And then getting it
this
to
issue
coordinate.
did come up yesterday.
yeah, okay, then we better negate that thing. I do actually have in my inventory some things that when you res them look like CDs and they do play songs, individual songs. I'd have to go back to Mankind and indeed other artists who do this. And
Yeah, yeah. I
if
think
it
what
is,
it is, it's a link. It's a link to a database, to an external database, and what you're doing is you're triggering a recorded sound. You're playing it through Second Life, but the actual digital storage is completely separate from Second Life servers.
This issue came up yesterday, and that's the big distinction. Say a novelist who has information in world that links to their Amazon site, for example, or wherever they have their book for sale or available, is going to be safe. But if that novelist actually brings that book into the world, because I know there's some erotica writers that do that because they're smaller books.
mm,
That's a different issue because now that does fall under the TOS, and technically Linden Labs has laid claim to do whatever they want to with that material. So that's the difference. You can point to something out of the world and be okay, but once you upload it into the world, then you are subject to the TOS.
okay, so
Yeah,
basically, I
yeah.
mean, this is a curiosity because Linda, back in the days, they originally they just stream QuickTime in World, but since Media on the Prim, we can stream almost anything in World and indeed access databases and product management from in World. So presumably, anything that connects to a back end database, that's anything that connects out World and is simply a pipe in World is protected, but anything you actively upload in World is not protected.
Right.
See, the thing is, with all of this, we will not know why they want this until they've done what they intend to do with it.
Sure.
And
I mean,
Very true.
Hmm.
this is
it does make you wonder. It's probably something
Mm.
obscure and simple, and they just overwrote the TOS, and this whole thing is like we really don't have to worry about it, but we do have to worry about it if they're going to put out that type of language and rope us in. It's just
well,
such a corner. Sorry, Mal, I
yeah.
interrupted you.
No, not at all, not at all. I
Okay.
mean, they are clearly pursuing a multi-software agenda now.
Hmm.
They have things on Android, they have things on iPads, they have other web things you can use. They don't resemble Second Life, though they are, I suppose, creative online spaces is the phrase I believe they use now.
Hmm.
And of course, they have bought the Desira game distribution company, which it's something else they can develop. And with their current CEO at Linden Labs, who has a gaming background, it's not surprising he's gone for something like that. And that I think is where assets may be important to them. But as Will Burns has said countless times, and in fact, our guest from Nation the other week also said this quite very, if Linden Lab go into liquidation, for example, at any point, nobody can know of that until it happens. Otherwise, there'll be a rush on the Linden Bank. There'll be a rush
Hmm.
on people retrieving their assets and stuff like that. So, if anything like major like that happens, you can bet your life it will just happen, and there'll be no warning. You'll try and log in one day and it's not there, and there'll be a message saying, all your content is
Forfeit.
forfeit,
Hmm.
yeah, and but maybe used, by Linden Labs. I often wonder about the backup system too. I mean, we all know that if a sim goes down or something, you can do a rollback and bring something up that's half an hour beforehand and things like that. If I say the TOS is not suitable for me. And I come in World and I delete my inventory or anything I can't actually export. Um,
They can still get it.
they still have it in the do they have a backup
Yeah.
in the asset server? So does deleting my content from Second Life actually do me any good if
No,
because
No, it
it
doesn't.
yeah,
doesn't.
it's still in the asset server. So I'd be wasting my time thinking I'm getting anywhere by deleting this stuff.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if the scale of Linden Labs business, on a scale of 1 to 100, the most the wealthiest companies in the world, of course, are at the upper end. Are we down at like 0.25 or 0.0025? Second Life is not a gigantic financial organization,
No.
and
Mm-mm.
it just seems to me that they can't really be looking to use our inventories or our rights to our machinimas because they're not going to get that much money out of it anyway. I
Well,
are they?
I
I
think
mean,
they're covering themselves, Pat. Like we
yeah.
discussed,
I
well,
think
like
they
we'll
just
discuss
wrote
it.
it to
If,
pave the way for something that they want to put out as a project, as a product, and
I think
it
it,
has nothing to do with us. I
I
hope.
think I think Debs is right. It's they're
Yeah.
covering themselves as a corporation, but we can't know for what reason they're doing that because
Yeah.
whether it's because they want to declare those assets as value, and also although Linden
Right.
whether
Labs
they are
is
going to receivership, as Will suggested.
yeah, although Linden Labs is a small
Ooh.
company, it tends to monopolize things that users have created. I mean, you've only got to look at the marketplace. X Street and the other things are no longer there. They grab the best of what their users do, and they're actually operating on multiple fronts. Although they're a small company, I think their profits are actually pretty high in proportion to their number of customers.
Is that right?
And look at what they charge, compared with what you can get on OpenSim. And I'm not talking about OpenSim specifically here, but I'm thinking about platforms like VastPark, the open metaverse projects and things, where
Hmm.
the discussion is that, you should have an avatar that you can take wherever you want to go. You should
Yes.
be able to customize it, have a perfect avatar, and then you
Yeah.
use it on every platform you want to be seen. Now, that avatar also has an inventory of assets that it owns. In other words, it's bought or licensed or whatever. And that too should be portable. And the fast part thing is the Open Avatar project thing relies on the principle that independent services would run asset servers and identity servers, and your avatar itself is an asset in a way, and that your relationship would be with somebody that stores your assets for you and provides the mechanism for their portability. And therefore, the actual world or the place you would use those would simply have to accept your incoming package, as it were, your communications package, your avatar likeness package, and
Hmm.
the inventory you're carting around with you. Now, there may be restrictions. The idea if you have an independent asset server, and this is happening in OpenSim a bit, is that a certain grid may say, well, you can come in and you can bring your avatar, but you can't bring your assets, your residual stuff or whatever.
Right. Right.
Another, destination may say, yeah, you're fine. You can bring it in here, res it or whatever. We won't claim any ownership, and we're simply providing the virtual land for you and an allowance, a prim allowance equivalent. So a lot of the schemes for an open metaverse in the future are actually based on farming out the independent aspects of what
So,
virtual worlds do. Whereas in
mm,
Second Life, We have the same company renting us the land. They don't sell us the land in any circumstances. They rent us the land. They host an asset server for our inventory. They provide tools to build Inworld, and they provide certain standards for our avatar, which are probably not as good as we get elsewhere. But they're involved in all these activities, so they make money on the Linden economy. They make money on land rentals. They make money on asset storage, and they've got their finger in every pie. A lot of people have often said they're a bit like the early AOL, who wanted to be everything to everyone.
Hmm.
And for a company who thinks like this, maybe it is no surprise that they want to be able to, on paper at least, consolidate those assets and say those are ours. I think
But
that
there is also some other things. I mean, the one thing is, has anybody considered that they might turn around to the content creators and say, okay, we've got our content now. Customers, this is ours. Okay, you've got your piece of land, and you get your land, they could actually completely take them and just declare ownership.
they could, but
I doubt that they would.
this is
No,
some.
not. They say they wouldn't, don't they? Of course.
Well, they just did.
Well,
TOS. That's the whole fact.
unless they are liquidating or selling
Yes.
themselves off to somebody.
We need
Right?
a mole in
They
Linden
they
Labs.
actually would. I can't see they'd have any cause to do that for one reason, and that is that um, even Second Life, I say even Second Life, has improved in many ways over the years. It still pales by comparison with game platforms, but then again, it's got to handle the kind of communications traffic and the community sort of traffic that games don't. Games are pre-written, beginning, middle, and end. It's not open-ended. So Second Life is a good example of its ilk. It was one of the first, really, but it standards change. Even Linden Lab has been forced to realise that in terms of incorporating mesh, for example, and earlier on incorporating voice, for example. So 1 year down the line, any assets that Linden Labs have now, it's slowly depreciating in value, not
Yes.
because it won't be state of the art, and there will only be a small window of opportunity for them to realize assets in the way you described, Debs, because a year later, those assets will be literally worthless because they will no longer be state of the art. It's like owning an
There'll be
iPad.
something new.
It's like owning an
Right.
iPad One,
That's true.
which doesn't have a camera or something. It's down the line. It's a
Seems
use, it,
self-defeating.
it's still a useful toy, but it's no longer something people would buy.
It's, and another thing that comes to mind is, surely what Linden Lab are, and all the other platform providers, are simply hosting services.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's what they are.
Elaborate hosting service, but
Elaborate.
yes,
Absolutely, Kylie. Absolutely.
I think there's so much speculation on what they're doing, and there's nothing we don't know. We don't have a clue what's going on. As I think Deb said, until they do it, then we'll be, oh, okay, that's what it was about.
yeah.
And I get some kickback from people in World occasionally of like, oh, well, they're not going to steal your art. Like, who cares, right? Um, to me, there's a moral issue here. This really does
Uh,
come down to right and wrong, and where my rights,
hmm
well, how do they put that? Where your rights end, where mine begin,
Mm.
and you have just crossed that line.
They
So to me,
have,
it's
yeah.
very much a moral issue, and I also
Hmm.
think it's precedential. I think that really that's why I
Yes.
want to involve the government agencies in this. It's because the government does need to step back and really get control of what is going on in the metaverse.
Mm.
Those rules need to
Yeah.
be made. They need to be, they're still struggling themselves trying to figure out, okay, what does this all mean? And I almost see this as a precedential situation.
People like me are going around being, I hate the word evangelist. It sounds religious, but they call us,
You are.
they call us,
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
call us metaverse evangelists, and
Meta-evangelists.
because of the potential of these platforms, not just Second Life, but OpenSim and a whole load of others. Where we mix creativity, participation, collaboration, communication, the whole works. But having said that, it's oh god, I've lost. Oh,
It's okay.
I'm losing track here a bit. There's too much as it's been discussed. Um, I think we just have to be cautious. You're talking about presidential. I'm in the UK here. It's very different. I mean, Open University and there's a phenomenal use of virtual worlds, OpenSim particularly in universities, for example, in education. But you always look around and you think, oh, the government itself is way behind. They've sponsored the old conference on these things, but they don't really understand what they're doing. The speakers will usually be from Forterra or something, and they'll be talking about how the military um, you know, um, g- you know, uses it, or way back when, going back 20 years, airline pilots have always been trained virtually ever since we had, to a certain extent,
Capability.
ever since we've had Microsoft whatever pilot.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. What was that called? Oh, everybody played it fanatically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is,
Yeah.
on an advanced scale, the military, for example, have always, and civilian aircraft carriers too. They train their pilots virtually. They have been doing since we didn't think of virtual worlds.
They
But
actually screened them, didn't they, Mel? They screened them from the game players originally.
yeah, and of course,
Amazing.
and they also script them from their capabilities.
Mm.
If they couldn't do it virtually, they sure as hell won't get able to do it in real life. So that's one of the earliest uses. Simulation training is the earliest use I can think of. Virtual
Flight
world.
simulator. That's what it
Even
was.
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even before they were called virtual worlds, that was what
Hmm.
they were doing.
Somebody's just
So
been Googling.
yeah,
No, no. When he said simulation, it kicked it in for
yeah,
me.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So these predate virtual worlds, but they are good examples of what virtual kind of worlds are all about. But moving on, well, we have one person on the panel here who's been amazingly silent. Are you still with us, Panther?
I am.
We'll talk about 48 hour and stuff in a while, maybe. But it occurs to me, there is another example here. It's not direct. It connects to our discussion. It's not directly related to it. Um, there are some games that do not allow you to record machinima when you're using them. In other words, you're not allowed to. They are games with a beginning, middle, and the end. You don't know anything in there. You just play them, and they have a terms of service that even forbids you taking screen captures and stuff. You have they want you to buy the game and go in. They don't want films made out of it. There aren't really any virtual worlds I can think of that have such um, rules, because virtual worlds have a very different nature. So, I mean, I can't see Second Life turning around saying you are forbidden to record a machinima using our platform. Although, you wonder, they could turn around and say, right, well, if you were, we will charge you $25 per minute if you want to record in our virtual platform. I mean, hopefully they won't, or I'll be
Does
stuck
that
for one
work?
thing.
Can I do that?
I,
Just
I,
kidding.
I don't know, but I mean, it seems to me that in the same way, anything we stream in is actually external and is simply coming into the platform. It's not something we upload. Anything we film, for example, and record outer world and then use outer world is also our own property, because Linden Labs they haven't got anything in the terms of service that precludes us taking screenshots or video
It's
of
because
their
we do
world.
their marketing that way.
Yeah, and in fact, most of the games that do have restrictions like that actually base it on the interface. In other words, you can't have the interface showing. So unless you have any way of turning off the interface, they can prove that it's theirs because the interface is visible. If you see what I mean. we can always kill the interface, and you don't know whether Inworld Review is actually coming from Chillware in SL or Fleet Grid on OpenSim. You just have you have no way of kind of knowing that. And it's all promotion for the lab, because it's also promotion for the metaverse. We're not promoting the lab, but we are promoting these platforms, these systems. But they are a very contrary company, Linden Labs. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to put a restriction like that someday. They, not realizing the promotional value, they would turn around and say, well, we want, hey, that film contains our copyright. That character you've made and you're filming to appear in Black Mirror or something, is actually in Second Life and has all these assets and costumes and everything else that belongs to us, and therefore you are filming a character property from Second Life, even though it's you, your avatar, your likeness, you created it.
It's a very good point, Mel, because Rod's background is games, and they keep all, as you just pointed out, they won't even let you take a screenshot. So maybe he's trying to align, maybe they're trying to align it with the games thing.
Coming to Panther, as I said, the stress, she says, Island.
I've just been fascinated listening to everyone. I have actually not had anyone ask me that question about if they shoot a machinima in Second Life, do they own what are the repercussions from the most recent terms of,
and that's very important to something like 48-hour machinima. You've got people paying money and putting it out to a lot of places, and now can they still? Who knows?
Well, except isn't there something in the terms of service regarding machinima, as far as it's...
The terms of service totally protects the machinimist and artist, and our ability to shoot in world and use it in any way we want to, including out of world. So we're all protected on that.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. The only question that comes to my mind is the endless question of crediting the designers and builders of what you're shooting in Second Life.
But this again is what I'm thinking of. I mean, we are safe at the moment, no question about that. But the way Linden Lab behave, how long would it be before overnight we suddenly find there's yet another new TOS that somehow restricts our ability to film? Quite frankly, this, I got my skin from somewhere and I modified it. I got my hair from somewhere else. I modified it. I'm wearing a particular costume at the moment, which I wear most of the time. And it's, I'm not Superman, but I almost could be, because I have a likeness that is like become a character trademark. And, it's that combination of appearance is my copyright. But under the TOS, every component of that appearance belongs to Linden Lab. And so it's not too far a stretch to imagine that overnight they can actually, say that they not only own the assets, but they have exclusive control over the assets, which would, preclude things like using a representation of those assets for other purposes.
Can we take a snapshot and mail it to ourselves? And pull it out at our day in court?
I was going to say, let's do that.
I think we've done so much filming that we don't really need a snapshot. We've got moving images.
This is true. Yeah.
But have you ever come across stuff like this in other machinima fields, Panther? Because obviously with the 48-hour conference, for example, that's a conference indeed. Film project, you're open to people who work in I clone a movie store and are wholly done offline, so it wouldn't arise. But you've got people who will film in World of Warcraft and platforms like that. And have you come across anything in the greater machinima world, as it were, rather than the inhabited machinima here, that would would be any kind of foreboding of this sort of thing, or complications that you come across?
I haven't actually. One thing that can be a little frustrating is that when I will contact some of the larger companies like Blizzard or other gaming companies, I don't really get a permission per se. So we leave it up to the producers to they're basically taking on whatever liability and figuring out what's possible within the different gaming engines, just because it changes all the time.
Yeah, every
That's
platform's
true.
got a
Yeah.
different TOS. Yeah, for example.
Right. And we're sort of at a place where we cannot do the research on all the different platforms. Like I said, they change all the time, and we put it onto the producers to do their research and understand what they can do within the different environments. That said, we haven't had anybody come and come to us and say you can't show that machinima anywhere.
I suspect that most machinima makers have already, in choosing the platforms they use, have already considered this to a great extent anyway. For example, if I couldn't hide the interface in Second Life, I would not be using Second Life for filming.
Right.
To me, it's a step too far. Television does not have the thing over my head saying who I am and God knows what else cluttering up the screen. Training manuals and things, that's different, training videos, but generally speaking, yeah, there's a quality about it that you need to adhere to make it into television. I for example, we tried filming in a platform called Twinity a few years ago, which was a mirror world in the sense that they were building virtual replicas, a bit like Debs does with London. And particularly London, actually. They have Berlin, London, New York, I think. And you got an apartment in the sort of city. The inside of the apartment was nothing fixed to reality, but the layout of the simulation, everything was mimicking the organic world. And there was a lot of potential there, but even to this day, there was absolutely no way to hide the interface. And when anybody's talking to each other, you get these big fat word balloons jumping up, and might as well be reading a comic. It's it just didn't work. Quite frankly, for television, it was fine as a platform for other things, but it's not something that, as a broadcast or film person, I can have any time for. It would look crap. Basically, I certainly wouldn't vote for it in a machinima contest. So we make decisions anyway based on things like that, how usable the platform is and what we can do with it. So I suspect most people entering a machinima contest have already chosen their platform. They have something they already use and it's worked out fine. So the instances where their contribution to, say, a 48-hour machinima contest would cause any problems are rare, because they're the same things that would have caused problems for them long before they entered.
Right, except for the new teams, and we encourage new teams to sign up. And
good point. Yeah.
During our Q&A, I have a lot of people asking me very basic questions that if they had made a film in real life or anywhere else before, they would have been able to, they would have known those answers to those questions. And I encourage people to just jump in and make the machinima. If they're a new team, odds are they're not going to win any awards anyway. So,
but yeah, exactly. They'll have tried. That's the main thing. It's the doing of it rather than necessarily the winning. And they'll have a machine to show off afterwards, even if it isn't a winning one.
Right.
bonus point. And just by the nature of the competition, they'll put more concentration and work and finesse into it if they can than they might have done if they were just posting it to their YouTube channels. So no, that's all for the good. Encourages people to do the best job they possibly can, whatever the result.
Right. Now, we had a Q&A yesterday, and some people are looking for, and I don't want to derail the conversation from where you were going before, but I did have some questions that I thought I'd throw out to the panel.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a couple people ask me if there were any musicians who were looking to be on a team or who they could reach out to get some music score for their films. I think Lap had mentioned that they should look at Indie Spectrum Radio, and I was wondering if there's if anyone on this panel knows of musicians who might be interested in joining a team.
When we it was either 2 years ago or three, I can't remember. She's an old friend of the show here, Slim Warrior. She's very busy these days, so I'm not putting her name up. Although if people know her, I'm sure they can contact her. But she did the soundtrack for our entry. Um, and she was on the team. She wanted to get involved, and she did. And she wasn't that as busy as she is now in real life. Now she does a lot of real life gigging. So pinning her down these days is impossible. She came onto the show 2 weeks ago, but she couldn't move. She couldn't do Skype and move, and she was hidden behind the backdrop here. We eventually gave up. But
Right.
what I do find is like Slimmy. There are a lot of in-world musicians who are principally just in-world musicians who have strong fan followings and everything else, and they get paid to perform at venues, and it's all in Linden money. They get paid their tips. Some of them make a decent sort of small living out of it. But most of those would actually jump at the chance, I think, for additional exposure. Especially if they've got a decent instrumental skills. To provide soundtracks, on machinima. As long as they get credited. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if I might interject here, a couple of things that I would do. One is I would encourage them to join Mama Shinema and post in that group, because the odds are fairly good that amongst all the people who are in Mama Shinema group,
Mhm. Right.
there are going to be some people with connections to composers who are interested in doing film work, which is a very
Yeah.
different animal than performing live.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and also, there used to be a couple of in-world groups that were focused on musicians as opposed to uh, communicating gig information. So it would be worthwhile to kind of do a cruise through the in-world groups and look for options there, of groups that might be a
Mm.
resource for
I
that.
think so. Mama, very good point. Because Mama Machinima is yeah, and A Views group for Piskin's channel. There's masses of machinima makers in those groups who are all too willing to help each other. And all it takes is for somebody in that group who's already done something with soundtrack work or worked with a musician to read that and say, oh, so and so might help or whatever. You are right. That I know in world performers, like Mankind Tracer last night. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
he has
now
original material, but he couldn't do.
it's
It's
yeah
not suitable for a soundtrack.
It's not a
soundtrack
soundtrack.
Uh,
soundtrack now, having done both.
yeah.
uh, doing soundtrack for video is
Mm.
a totally different thing than writing songs.
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, so
But
that's why I say I would go via that route instead. I'm
yeah.
not offering my own services because I'm not into marathons, but
Yeah, no. I totally agree. I mean, we play loads of music machinima here on, later in the main program, which people would just actually take a song and make a music video for it. But of course, they won't be able to do this on 48 hour because they'll be having to go along with the keywords, the script. There's going to be tight controls into what they can do. But we've known those. Another old friend of the channel, and he's in World still now and again, but not really around. Dizzy Banjo, for example, he worked with lots of sound installations in World, and principally the kind of music he created out of World was what you might call soundtrack music. So you certainly need to make a point that it is soundtrack that you want rather than just a performance to be the soundtrack.
Right. Most
Again, the Mama Machinima and Davies group, they're filled with machinima makers, and I can just tell you from this show alone, the different machinima that comes in every week. I mean, there are plenty of music videos done with machinima style, but there are also plenty with original scores, and there'll be people out there that definitely know. So joining the groups, as Tara mentioned, I think it's a good start.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have joined every machinima group that there is in Second Life, I think. But I haven't specifically posted that question out there.
Mm.
I've also had a couple folks ask me where there might be locations that they could shoot their machinima, and I have found a
London.
few. Sorry?
London. We've
I
had
mean,
a few there.
say what you like about Linden Labs, but Second Life is a bloody big world.
Yeah.
You'll never see it all in a lifetime already. Not if it's square inch of it anyway. Just go scouting. You
Oh,
know,
And
I've
then
been
ask the
out in a bunch
senator.
of places.
Yeah.
nothing like putting a pin on the map and saying I'll visit there today. And that
Yeah.
was Second Life map too. The other suggestion I might have, only because it is sort of bears on it, is that there is a group. I get them. I think one of my old, I've only got one old actually, but I think I'm a member of Music Island, and they are principally focused on classical music, classical performance, and stuff like that. But they are much more an Inworld the musicians on the Music Island list in that group are possibly a mix of ones that would be more appropriate for soundtracking, because they used to play, they being classical musicians, they compose things like program music, as we used to call it, which has a lot of similarities with soundtracks. So that might be another thought.
With the editing software too, I know with Sony Vegas, which is what I use, it came with must be 50 or 100 like sets of 4 loops, like of various genres of music. Like there are music resources out there. You don't actually need a musician. You can cobble stuff together that's already available. If you look into your editing software.
And GarageBand has tons of
And you
loops
can
and
use
stuff in it.
something like that too and make your own music. You don't really have to be a musician per se. You can make something that sounds good and fits the mood you're looking for. So that's also an option for cinema.
Yeah, there's a wonderful program. I think there's a free version called Fruity Loops.
Oh, really?
And
Fruity
yeah,
Loops,
well, no,
okay.
it's a great name, but it's very seriously used music composing software. It just allows you to fiddle with a soundscape until you've got what you want. So many things to program.
Oh, what's the name of that again?
Fruity Loops.
I'm looking it up right now.
Wonderful.
Speaking of having done machinima
free.
and used assiduously some bits and pieces out of the loops and stuff available in GarageBand, is a caveat and a warning, and that is that it's possible if you post it at YouTube, even though it's original and using those loops available to anybody who has GarageBand. I had a DCMA on my soundtrack which was original, using bits, some of which was using GarageBand. In fact, I have had to email. I have had to challenge that twice, like 2 years apart on the same video. So just be aware that for some reason YouTube doesn't seem to recognize that somebody's claiming a copyright on stuff that isn't the underlying material is not theirs to copyright.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. My
that
account's
is-
been in bad standing for like a year now because of that. I'm in so much trouble.
I mean, I get feeds from YouTube every day, and I usually see everything within 24 hours and download anything I want to use on the channel or something like that. But if you miss a day, you keep going to things and saying the soundtrack has been removed or something,
Right.
or the soundtrack can't be played in your country, and
Right.
so you tend to have to move quick if you want to get these things that YouTube often totally in error, picks out by whatever sort of digital logarithm they're actually using to do it. But the other thing I think, of course, is that this show gets a lot of replay throughout the week. We put this on YouTube, and of course, it's part of the main show on the channel here. So anybody watching, either live now or in replay, we got. Talk of Slimmy's probably going to watch it at some point of the week. If there's anybody out there who's a musician and you fancy your hand at doing soundtrack work, maybe you've done it before, maybe you just feel you've got the ability to do it, then I guess contact Panther Chanel Inworld. Would that be a good idea, Panther?
Yep, contact me in World, and then also I have an email that I'm going to post up here.
Okay, so it's Panther, as in the animal, dot Chenille. That's CHENILLE. And I'm sure she'll be glad to hear from you if you want to send her an IM in World. If you can help in any way, it's not for her. It's just information she can pass on to contributors to the 48-hour machinima contest.
Right. Now, another thing that people are asking for is where can they find skins?
Everywhere.
I was just going to say I'll hand that to Petlove or somebody. I'm not. The only skins I ever buy are old men's skins and photorealistic ones. And since I'm pretty addicted to this one, I don't do much of it. So yeah, is there any particularly good? Oh, Tara would probably know too. Particularly good skin.
Wow Skins has a lot of nice promotions. And any major skin place, if you join their group, they give monthly gifts. They have lucky chairs. You join the group and you go watch the boards, and when your letter comes up, you click on it and you get a free skin from the board. Tooties is TUTYS is a good place for some unique skins. Just go to any Redgrave, all those big old skin places, and also at the fairs like the Boho Hippie Culture Fair right now. There are lots of skins there for like 0 to maybe 1 or 10 lindens, as part of the fair. There are just skins everywhere. You just have to look.
Yeah. Also, another resource. There are two blogs that focus on freebies, and those can be really good resources. And a lot of stuff is short-lived, so it'll be something that's being given away for a month or a couple of weeks or something like that. But I see a lot of skins go by on the freebie.
Do you have a link
blogs.
to that, Tara?
Yeah.
The one I particularly like is just a minute here. Let me get my link up.
I know.
Called Fab Free. It's fabfree.wordpress.com.
Hunt SL is a good place to look at too. We have three
Hunts
free skins.
Hunts can be a good one.
Three free skins coming
That's
up on
great.
this week's episode that are very suitable.
Yeah, the
Panther,
downside is
if you're
if you're trying to find something in particular, very particular look, then the freebie stuff may not cough up what you're looking for.
And it's really easy to texture skins. You can make a skin really easily. You just get the template, make it on your own computer, decorate it however you want.
That's true.
And bring it in.
Right. And I'm thinking the people that are asking me the questions about these skins and where to get things, they're the newbies, and they are looking for something that they're not going to buy and be disappointed with. They want really good recommendations.
Panther, I'll send you the link, but there's this guy that makes the most incredible old people skins.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And they're free.
And they're free. Oh.
They're free, and they're just phenomenal. I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
I'd like to see
Rule
that.
that.
I have a lot of elderly, because I think they have a lot of character, so that's why I like them, and they're often photorealistic done. But they have cost me quite a lot, so I'd have a link to get more that doesn't cost much, nothing.
I will get that out to you guys.
Yeah,
I'll look up and see who it is.
Does that person also do older women?
Yes.
Because that's in
amazing.
various hunts I've done on skins for that are older women. There are a lot of them that just are caricature. Or the women who and then there's some that are supposed to be older but don't quite really make it. I mean, maybe they hit 40, but they don't get beyond that.
Right.
Can we just change that word to mature rather than older?
Right.
I said
Aged gracefully.
Tara, have you been to Tooties? Tooties has some really great old people, mature people.
My real advice was, if you manage to find a suitable mature person's skin, be careful what animations you decide to wear with it. They can look very silly.
Sexy walk on a 90-year-old.
Come on.
Right.
Come on, Al. Let's be sporting.
Yeah, tell us.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
He's wiggling out of it now. Come
Look
on.
at this.
It can be amusing. That's all. But no, Tara has a point. You do end up with a lot. You try something on, and you think it looks great in the picture, and then you realise it is too caricature when you actually put it on. So
That's why God gave us demos.
yeah, and make your own. It's something I keep
Yes.
in.
So
You can
they're
easily
buying.
get templates for
Hmm.
skins and just paste your own
They're in the
photo.
library, I think.
Paste a
Yeah.
photo of
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
face in it.
Well, you can't quite do that because the template is skin flattened out.
Yeah.
Well, you have
Oh
to
yeah,
experiment with it,
yeah. You have to distort it a bit to match.
Yes, you have to distort it.
Yeah. But it's all great fun. I keep meaning to do that actually. So I'm satisfied with this one for now. I'll no doubt change one day. Now, Panther, while we're on the subject,
Sure.
it was Tuesday, wasn't it? Registration's open.
It's been open a couple weeks now.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
I think it was SL Inquirer put a blog up on Tuesday, but there's something happened on Tuesday, didn't it? It was relevant.
We had a QA on Wednesday.
Ah, okay, okay, yeah,
That may have been it.
I was
right.
talking to Chantel at the TOS meeting, and
Oh, right.
I asked her whether it was true that people wait till the last minute to sign up, and she said, "Oh yeah, definitely."
Yes.
So you'll
They
probably,
do.
yeah, you'll see that
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, the traction will come when you put the post up saying nominations closing,
Right.
applications closing, in 24 hours you then get
That's when they
inundated by
rush. Yeah.
more than you possibly expected, kind of thing. Yes, I'm sure it does work that way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
most certainly. And in the real world, they close registration 2 weeks prior,
Oh
and we
my.
didn't have registration closed,
Hmm.
just because I think it's probably it's still heavy admin for us. It's probably not as heavy admin as it is for the real life folks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's sort of wrap up a bit by looking at sort of various other things going on. On the I'll come to you all in a minute, actually. On the arts front, where were we? Imogen and the Pigeons has closed or is closing. Find more at brino.blogspot.com. Brino, of course, being one of the people that has reacted badly to the new terms of service, to put it mildly. However, I've forgotten her name again. Wonderful artist. We announced this last week. Color Key and Random Thankfulness in Second Life. This is one of the posts from our friend Honor Macmillan, WordPress.com.
Hmm.
Yeah, a no day and no destination. You'll find at least 7 or 8 entries for the past week every time you go to her blog.
Yeah.
And she, Color Key, I'm not with it today, folks. I can't remember her name.
Was Imogen
Rebecca Bashley.
Bashley?
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Her
you go.
Color Key installation is something else, but then again, all her installations are something else. Right. One of the Inworld sources I tweet quite a lot is the SL Inquirer. It's just slnquirer.com. And I don't tweet everything they publish, needless to say. It needs to be specific. But they had an interesting article during the week on the science circle in Second Life. Basically looking at science-based things in Second Life. So that is a very useful post, not a specific event, but just a very useful post to kind of read. A fashion show with a twist, for example, was their following blog.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you now. Sorry. Did anyone see that article about the because you talked about the SL Inquirer,
Yeah.
about the study that was done for sexualized women avatars?
Oh yeah, and
No.
you did a blog yourself, Debs, didn't you? On a post of some sort on that basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that I thought. Well, it's it's fascinating, but I think yeah,
I'd like to hear. I'd
yeah.
like to hear what Debs has to say about that.
Tell us. I was going to comment.
Oh no, put on the spot.
Well, no,
Well, yeah, I guess
it's down to how we relate to our avatars, and actually that does suggest a couple of other
Exactly.
horrific extents to which people have let their avatars take over themselves to the point that their
Yeah,
mind makes acceptable things they really shouldn't accept.
Mm.
exactly. I mean, but good things as well.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it just shows that the mind is stronger um, than the body, really, because
mm,
our mind believes what we are fed, and if we're fed images of sexualized females, and then well, it's best if I tell you what the study was.
yeah,
The study used students and made half of them have sexualized avatars. That means they look quite sexy. They had breasts and all the rest of it. And the other half looked androgynous. Okay.
Okay.
right.
So when they finished the study, they asked the participants um, whether they felt they deserved to be raped, whether
Get
they
out
felt
of
they were
here.
in the real life. Yep,
Wow.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Whoa.
Yeah, serious.
Um, and the students, the participants, sorry, who had the sexualized avatars, felt significantly more that they deserved to be raped than the ones who didn't have sexualized avatars.
That's so
Yeah,
Wow.
twisted.
it's very scary stuff in many
That
ways.
is, yeah.
I think I actually draw the parallel here to real world media too. I think for as long as I've been an adult, the idea of a sexually clad, for want of a better word, half naked woman sitting on a car has been used to sell cars. They do sell them other ways too. I've got to admit, but that was why the principal sort of bit
That was
piece
in
of
the
that.
50s.
This
That was
was
all
I
Yeah, I was
true.
gonna
no, it
Yeah.
was the same iconography in the 70s.
Okay.
And but also even now, if you go to car shows and things like that, they use the same sort of thing. And even in the so-called post-feminist age, which has always confused me a little bit. You either are or you aren't. Um, it's the sort of you've had this I guess the Spice Girls have an awful lot to do with it back in the 80s or 90s, where the girl power thing
Uh-huh.
was very assertive, and that was great. But at the same time, there are aspects of it that actually reinforce not the femininity, but the difference in the sexes, and how presentation. They were very upfront, and this paved the way for a lot that came after them. But the very upfrontness was, in many ways, seductive, if you see what I mean. So these stereotypes get conformed to, and it's very easy in a virtual world. I think to because it's expressionism, pure expressionism, if you like. You can make your avatar, for example, as close to the real you as you want to be, or you can go to the other extreme. You can make yourself, totally the ideal you want to be, and your mindset begins to sort of relate to that after a certain point of time. Sometimes I feel like I'm a pussycat because my avatar a lot of the time is a pussycat.
But is it the
um,
visual that's brainwashing you, or is that an
well
expression
in
of your inner self?
well quite
You
it
know?
is it is part it's actually neither. It's the visual is not brainwashing me, but the acceptance of my visual in the community and the reactions to my visual are
Mm-hmm.
actually what is really doing the brainwashing.
Okay.
So, if you are a woman, as a woman avatar, and you're very scantily dressed and you like playing, excuse the word, playing the slut or something like that, after a while, to you, it is just a fantasy when it starts. But as you get more and more used to that, people react to you. They react to your avatar, and they get to know you that way. And I think the thing that happens is that you start perceiving yourself using the way avatars relate to you, and if you spend a lot of time doing this, then you sometimes get confused in the real world that you're at a party in the real world. It's not quite the same as being at a party in Second Life, and it might actually do you some harm to be overly exhibitionist in real life, where you can get away with it in somewhere like Second Life. And I think there are people, especially with addictive personalities and things, who will at some point get confused. I don't, I think it's something most sensible people rationalize fairly easy. You know how far you're willing to go spending your time as an avatar, and you make sure you spend a lot of time as an organic as well. Um, but I can see. I can see, I get horrified when I read the fashionista blogs and the social blogs in Second Life sometimes because, I think the Americans call them trailer park trash. There seems to be an awful lot of people who love to role play this part,
I know.
whether they are or not. And it does worry me that the desire to role play that part is a bit disturbing in itself, but also the fact that if they role play it long enough, they will start considering themselves like that. So, this report isn't a total shock to me, but I think it is tragic because it implies people like people who watch too much television. They believe the advertising,
Hmm.
Oh
they
yeah.
believe the reactions of people. They are not really self-identified people, and that I think is the real
Yeah.
problem.
I
And the
think
thing is,
for I
sorry, carry
We
on.
all have a lot to say
I
now.
think for me, yeah, we do.
Good.
I
I'll
think we all
shut up
approach
then. I'll be
this
quiet.
differently. For
No.
me, I'm very much me. I have a hard enough time being me. I don't need to be someone
Yeah,
else.
right.
So
Yes,
yeah,
I know
I
what you
don't run
mean.
into those issues. But I see the women that come here and are abused, and I'm like, you're choosing to be abused,
Hmm.
and it
Right.
just blows my mind.
Yeah,
Mm.
That
it's
boggles my
interesting.
mind too. I cannot connect with the whole concept of putting oneself virtually in that kind of situation.
Hmm.
Very
And yet,
bizarre.
odd thing is, if you know these people, I mean, let's say, for example, some of the slave stuff, all that kind of stuff. All right, that's I know a lot of people do it and go and all the rest of it, and there's fine if they're all consenting, that's fine. But if you see the women who do it, they're actually, that's my dog, excuse me,
Yeah.
Oh,
they're actually
sorry.
very strong, independent women who then choose to be totally controlled. It's very interesting from a
Yeah,
It's
psychology point of view.
Well, I
sure.
think that's down to the escapism side of places like Second Life. I mean, they're community platforms and they're not games, but they are ideal for role play because you create your own role play. And there are certainly a lot of people around who, for one, I don't know, maybe their physical body isn't what they'd like it to be, or maybe their role in life is just not close to what they dreamed that they would want when they were younger, and therefore in the second life, as it were, then the expressionist side of it, they create the ideal, or the alternative to what they're given as their lot in real life, so to speak. And it again, it's just a degree. It's like men who become women in their avatar form, and vice versa. Women who become men in their avatar form. They are exploring something that
Yes.
intrigues them. I know a very well known blogger in Second Life, as many people do, very outspoken blogger for that matter, who to all this, whose avatar is a man, but they are actually
I know one who's an owl.
yeah, but yeah, well, or a pussycat, yeah, but in this
And a
case,
pussycat.
in this case, she is very definitely female. But you wouldn't know it from her avatar and from her in-world chat. You only know it when you speak to her, which she doesn't do very often in world. On the other hand, there's the opposite stream. One who's very public is Zauri, who works for IBM. Serious position in IBM, but he and no another. Well, I won't mention names that aren't public. Um, but
Like Lauren
Sayuri,
Whalen.
well, yeah, but that is the camp sort of thing. Yeah, it's very obvious there. But Sayuri just is around and about in world playing the female part and fascinated by he is fascinated by the reactions his avatar receives as a female, and the argument is a good argument is that you have preconceptions of females as a male. If you role play a female and observe the reactions to you as a female, you learn something about what females go through, and vice versa.
Hmm.
Women playing men actually discover things about men that maybe they don't in an observation sense. They actually have to inhabit an avatar of a female to actually comprehend. So, there is a very serious side to it, to this. And I'm not talking about serious addiction, it's serious research. Find out more about yourself by being the opposite sex for a while. Why
Yeah.
not?
Has anyone
There's,
seen that video of Dustin Hoffman talking about his
oh yeah,
experience?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
tell
he's
us though.
well, he was talking about how when he was Tootsie, how when he played Tootsie, they put the makeup on him, and when he looked in the mirror, he didn't. He wanted to look better, and they're like, "That's about as good as you're gonna get. We did our best."
Wow.
And he started to cry, and he said that he had never given women that would have been the type of woman he would be, and he thought he was a very interesting woman, and that he wouldn't have given the woman that Dustin was himself the time of day and party, and he wanted to be a beautiful woman, and he started crying on the video on the
Wow.
interview. So I thought it was very interesting.
I know the opposite of that actually, which I always thought was great, was Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
Yeah, who was, certainly not the kind of woman I would ever give the time of day to normally.
It's
Or he would,
fantasy versus the real, isn't it, as
yeah.
well? And it's also, the fact that you can actually be something. As Sean says in the chat, it's doing something you cannot do in real life, which is safer. You can, like you said, it's safe here to do these things, and you can learn and experiment here, and then whatever feels comfortable, you can take into the real life, maybe, in
You,
whatever form that is.
I wonder this research. I mean, it's worrying that somebody can so associate themselves with, that type of female character that they would willingly say they wouldn't be surprised if they got raped or something. That is actually horrifying. But I also wonder how this research was done, because if the experimental avatars, the androgynous ones and the sexualized ones, were all experiments, in other words, if they weren't people that were used to virtual worlds already, um, how much of it would be the noob thing and the limited time they took part in the experiment. In other words, the androgynous ones would not really experience anything of a sexualized nature,
Mm.
except maybe as observers, whereas the ones who were highly sexualized would probably be, they probably experience more quicker in that short burst of time. So I don't know how
Another,
long the study took.
there's
Well, it's
another.
sorry, carry on.
I was going to say another thing I'd be curious about is on the androgynous ones, um, if they were believable, if they were still believable. Um, yeah, in other words, the question that comes to my mind is how much did the androgynous users self-identify with that avatar? There's kind of a question of how much identification was taking place in both cases.
Mm.
That's a very good point. I mean, there obviously needs to be done a lot more studies. I mean, because my background psychology, obviously, I'm very interested in the Proteus effect and things
Uh,
like this.
mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating to see that these people, because they weren't self-selecting, they got told which one they were going to be. They just got given an avatar, and
Mm.
it's just fascinating to see, how much that can affect their real lives, because this is how they've taken that perception from virtual into real. I mean, this is, I guess, what virtual training is and things like that. There's so much positive as well as negative that can be taken from this. But as you say, Tara, we need more studies.
And there's another question that occurs to me here, or another observation, and that is the acceptance of the possibility of being raped being associated with being sexualized and therefore being perceived as a sex crime when in fact rape is not a crime of
Anger.
sex, it's a crime of
Wow.
power and control and
Yes,
anger.
very
It's
true.
not a sex crime. And but culturally that message lots of people don't have never gotten, and I think on a gut level it's hard to get it too. And a lot of that's just plain conditioning. We're conditioned to say, okay, well, if a woman is dressed provocatively, behaving provocatively, she's asking to be raped, which is simply
And that's so
not true.
unfair and so wrong.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
This is just
that
self-image. This is all this is about. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, but I mean
Interesting.
the fact of the self-image to me is saying this person has accepted that cultural message, even though it's false as far as what rape is about.
and
Well,
the
exactly.
virtual world forced the cultural message on her. She adopted the cultural message from the virtual
Yeah.
world, like you
Yeah.
say, the games, the other stuff that everything that sort of causes all that. It projects a self-image on people, and we just have to be careful about what kind of
Yeah.
self-image we want to project.
Yeah, I mean, rape, never be forgotten. Rape is barely about sex at all. It's an act of violence, and the, that's what it is.
Right.
Violation.
Yeah.
Anybody who is stupid enough to say they feel like they should be raped or something. I mean, this is like slavery and domination rather than anything to do with sex.
Yes.
So
Nobody who gets raped has asked for it.
quite.
No. Well, that
That's
exactly. I mean, it's just the way they phrase the question. I think
Yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
attitude they wanted to see
We,
if
we,
it actually changed their attitude.
we have somebody in the channel chat room, Sian Nansen, I think, just saying it's doing something you cannot do in real life and it's safer. And I guess that is a perception, that is the way people believe it to be. It's just a matter of being, grounded enough to keep the fantasy separate from reality. If that is what you want. Otherwise, just be yourself. Don't be something else. Oi, a handful.
Yes, indeed.
You didn't have much on today, Mal. You didn't.
It's sorry, I'm wearing some clothes. Thank you.
No, you said you had a very light show today, so here we go.
we
This,
always say
this is
that.
not light.
Now,
we did for how long each of us babbled at the beginning.
that is the beauty of this show. It's ad lib, and we always manage to find contentious discussion.
can I add?
But I
one
would
thing?
say the thing about I'll bring you in. I would, but in wrapping that actually, I would say research is research, and although I'm intrigued when I hear studies like this, I tend to think that they they're all kind of in isolation, and I'm much more interested in reading like 30 studies and their results in one go because they approach things from different angles and things, and you get a much clearer picture. This study, I think, raised some very interesting points, but I don't know that it has huge value just in itself. So I don't know whether we should put too much weight into it. Sorry, Panther, was it? Or, no, who was trying to say?
I had one thing to say, but I think someone else did too.
I just wanted to go very quickly in my whole talk about the TOS. I forgot to talk about the UCCSL. Please join the United Content Creators of SL. It's an open group. We are actively fighting the TOS, and we need your help.
Okay, so it's an Inworld group, and they look for content. Give it out again slowly.
United Content Creators of SL.
Right.
Can we give crowdfunding to it as well?
Yes.
Okay, well there's a good thing.
Is there a website too, as well as the Inworld group, or so a focal point people can look up more?
There is. Hold on just one second.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll bring.
I hadn't forgotten that. I had it on my list of questions to ask if they hadn't been answered.
If you put it in Skype chat, I can maybe get it on a lower third and it'll go on the film, the recording of today. And Melissa, I'm going to do that with your email too.
Okay.
Just one final comment on the study while they're looking up URLs. The other piece that I always pay attention to is who are the subjects, because there's so many typical psychological research studies are done with college students, which means you're
It
dealing
was
with
college students.
18 to 23-year-olds whose life experience is what it is.
Very true.
And so, how applicable that is to the general population is definitely subject to debate.
Yeah, more
Okay,
studies need to be done, but it was just an interesting study,
yeah,
that
no,
Yeah.
nothing's
Yeah.
been done on it like this before.
yeah, I did. Yeah, it crossed my radar quite prominently. Actually, I'd overlooked it earlier, but yeah, no, it's cause for cause for thought, basically. Our friend Daniel Voyager, danielvoyager.wordpress.com.
The owl.
Yes, indeed. He has a post you'll find covering the content creators too. So he's very good at putting links up there and all sorts of other stuff. Also, I just mangled my glasses earlier. I stood on them,
Oh.
which is
Oh,
very
that's
clever.
what that sound was. Oh.
I have a feed here. It's at alizakaru.wordpress.com. That's ALIZAKARU.wordpress.com. And it's a call for designers for to lay. I don't know where we actually have a clip about that coming up shortly. The news items. To lay is. Basically, it's hard to describe, but I'm going to say it's a feminist organisation. They're just about women, and I won't even say women's empowerment. It's principally an art group, and with a focus on women there. So there's a call for designers, so you might want to check out that slow, and there is a short video with events from them coming up a bit later. And I'm just checking the Inworld. Yes, we all know about the TOS changes, don't we?
Well, I'm going to show the URL. Oh, you can't see the whole thing. United Content Creators of SL.
SL.wordpress.com.
All right.
I don't know how this is going to look, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Daniel Voyager also has a post on the 4th annual Bay City Halloween Hay Maze, which is now open. I have not encountered the Hay Maze, but it is a Halloween event of some sort, so if Dan's got it, it's probably good. And interestingly, there's also a post at the SL Inquirer, which actually links to another site called Ethiopia News, Ethiopia indeed, Ethiopia News. I did apologise for the glasses, didn't I? And it's actually a talk by Tom Bolsdorf, the anthropologist. He talks about his book Coming of Age in Second Life with Mark Strassman. I think I'm pretty sure. I think that may actually have a video component too. And
Good.
Techno Cory, that's Techno Chory, by Sina Souza and none other than Brino, opening today. So if you follow Brino, which is always a good thing to do, that should be interesting. Carl Fizz announced his closure of his region, which again relates to a TOS thing. Now actually, I can't recall all the details. I'm just going to give you a short URL here. It's a bit.ly URL, so it's bit.ly/19 capital N lowercase t 6 capital W capital P. And the title of this article features Second Life quite a lot, actually. It's called Beyond Babel, China's Virtual Future. And, well, have a look at it if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. And lastly, if you want to know about science fiction role-play in Second Life, SL Inquirer had a comprehensive article on that. And also on how SL residents celebrate Halloween, but we know about that, don't we? Yeah, but Burn 2, of course, is open. Lots of blogs from Inara Prey and Kara, Second Life, blogspot.com, all on Burn 2. Let's see. Okay, there seems to have been an awful lot of links in my Second Life feed this week. So, now this is interesting. Again, from Daniel Voicher. There's a group in World called the Builders Brewery. People who do building and stuff like that tend
They're
to belong
building
to
London
it.
in Evanation.
Well,
Yeah, heck of a group.
the Inworld Second Life group reached a grand total of members this week. None
They
other.
are very good.
Do you know have a guess how many members?
10,000.
I think it's over 21,000.
Whoa.
21,000?
Wow.
No,
Wow.
well, you're very close.
Great.
It's it reached 20,000 members this week.
Holy
Yay!
That is
Incredible.
that is a hell of a lot of avatars in one group. I don't think I'd want to be in the group which pops up chat from that group too often. I'd never get anything else.
It's actually the group is actually pretty subdued as far as amount of chatter is concerned, which is good. It has sort of taken the place of a couple of earlier efforts that were really focused on being an educational resource for learning prim mangling and all the various bits and bobs that go into making stuff in Second Life.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, it's real well done.
They are, yeah.
I have a few posts that are coming in the last 24 hours, so I haven't followed up on any of them. An art exhibit by somebody called Ellen E. Goyan called "Existence of Life." If you want to know more about that, there's a bit.ly address, bit.ly/1 lowercase b uppercase j uppercase v 1 uppercase z o. And Linden Endowment of the Arts, LEA, of course, have just posted a thing on the Linden site saying, now open, Moving Islands. And from what I remember the blog this morning, this is a collaborative effort featuring countless different artists. It was a very long blog full of pictures with of different people, so that sounds interesting. Loki Elliott, LOKIELIOT.com. His blog is called Creating Mischief in the Metaverse or something. He had quite a rather interesting blog today called Are All Second Life Users Fools? A bit of digital mischief there, but not as silly as you might think. Nice little read there. Inara Prey, modemworld.wordpress.com. As usual, she's got a roundup of Senchai Library this week if you're interested in literary things. The Boho Culture Fair is open, and apparently you have to hurry. You can find out more at Event Hunt Forever Planners, all one word.
Everybody go to that. It was great.
Event Hunt Forever Planners.wordpress.com if you want more details on that. And Yep, that's about it. The Hunts blog, of course, has an obligatory Hunts ending October 21st posted this morning. So you've got one day to check out those if you want to look at Hunt SL. There's about 5 that close tomorrow, so you'll have to hurry for those ones. Right, that's it for my that's it for the list on screen. I can put these now dismantled glasses down. That's a bit of a pain. I sort of let back on the stool earlier and crunch. In fact, I must apologise. Near the front of the programme, you may have heard a curse in the background.
Oh, that's when you did it?
That's
That was Mel's glasses.
that was what happened, and then of course I realised, hang on, I'm on air. I should not have cursed. But why not? My avatar is prone to cursing. It's called self-expression, even if it was loud. But my apologies for those of you.
I didn't notice it.
For the more faint-hearted of you who missed it. Right. Okay. So that's a little roundup of what's coming on. So I think it's about time we sort of wrap the show. Let's go around each of you to find out highlights and whatever's going on. We've got all the 48-hour machinima details from you, Panther. Anything else exciting happening in the coming week or near future that you want to mention?
Well, this Wednesday, during office hours, we're going to have a sort of happy hour at LEA 4. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Second Life time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be fun. We were having just some very not boring meetings. We had a lively discussion, but we wanted to kind of shake things up. And I think Lap's going to get a DJ, and we're just going to invite people to come and ask questions and mingle.
Right. If it's in text, that's a bloody good idea, actually, because as soon as something starts playing and people go and strap on an animation or whatever, then it just makes chatting in text a bit more fun. Not that I'd possibly consider doing such a thing. I'm a voice-only man.
I think it's going to be text. There's some people that have their voice working and some people that don't. So I think it'll be a good time for people to just come together and not have to be staring at Chantel and myself in the front of a room.
Yeah. We must try and
I'd enjoy that.
I must get hold of Chantel, see if she wants to pop on next week or whatever. It's been a while since we've had her on. We were last thing we did ended up being a very long special on the I told you my memory's going. My eyesight's going and I'm breaking my glasses. My memory's going and my memory is going and now I'm breaking something else by the feel of it. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of me for that matter. Debs, anything super exciting apart from Halloween, or including Halloween if you want, happening in virtual London and elsewhere on the grid that you're raving about?
Well, London is doing London's thing. We've got a ghost hunt where you can shoot 'em up ghosts, and we've got a pumpkin hunt on another sim, and we've got zombie zapping on another sim, which is quite kind of fun. Yeah, zombie zapping. So we're always busy. We've always got things going on. There's clubs and pubs, and it's just very, 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 very active. Avination, we're building. It's going to be a big, long build because there's so much going on there, and I'm kind of excited very much about what Panther's doing.
Yeah, you should come. You should come on Wednesday and meet some of the filmmakers and talk about London.
That would be fun. Yeah, I'm very excited about that because it sounds wonderful. I love these kind of things. So
Cool.
yeah, thank you. I love that.
What time Tuesday?
The 48-hour contest is it's stressful, but it's a real joy. It's
it's exciting.
2 days, and you don't sleep or think of anything else, basically. But great exercise and great results as a rule as well.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. And the winning winning team can go on to Filmpalooza, and then if they win there, they can go on to Cannes Film Festival.
Yay!
Wow,
right,
that's something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if that?
I want to enter.
Me too.
You still can.
Yay!
No, do a good job. Get a free ticket to Cannes at the end of the day. That would be a major achievement if a machinima could broach those last two.
That
Wonderful.
would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So this time next week, of course, we will be at the closest show we have to the real Halloween. So I think we might have even more of these pumpkins that are in front of us hanging around. There is also a playlist. It's not live on the channel yet, so don't look for it, especially for Halloween night itself, which is a few hours of Halloween-based machinima, some of which I have not been showing deliberately in the last couple of weeks because I'm holding them all back. So we got a nice machinima selection for Halloween. And who knows, we might do an Inworld special. I don't know. Nearer the time, we will find out. Okay, Petlove. Nice camera work. Anything else happening?
Thank you so much. Just we're getting closer and closer to the release of the first episode of The Blackened Mirror. Everything is really rolling along beautifully. We still haven't heard back. Nicole X hasn't heard back from Sundance yet, but there may be a machinima accepted by Sundance. We have high hopes. And what else? Let's see. Happy Hunting is coming out soon.
I did get a clip from you this morning about it was something very different for you. Oh, it was an advert, I think, sort of, for an RL
Don't say Devon Devadores, please. I hope it's not.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of it.
It's old.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, maybe it's sometimes fees cough up old films. But
was it a door commercial?
No,
okay,
it was. It was something about. Well, I don't know. It obviously wasn't. It's probably a job you did that wasn't important to you personally.
It was probably about 5 minutes.
Clue. I do so much. I don't know what you're talking about, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Well, I only watched the beginning of it, but yeah, it was quite good. I think it surprised me because it was obviously one of these tribute band type things.
Okay.
Rather than I'm actually clicking away here because I can tell you what it was.
Maybe Billy Idol.
Yes.
Was it Billy Idol?
Yes,
that was fun.
The one.
That was a great machinima to work on. Yeah, that was with CEC, which is one of Lopesian's interests. And they asked me to do a promo for his act, and I did, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
great stuff.
I used to quite like Billy Idol. I hadn't heard
Billy Idol.
Hadn't heard from him for years and years, actually. I don't know whether he's still going, but it looks like one of those mime jobs. So,
well, it's Second Life, you know.
Yeah, I know, but it did look good. It did look good. That was the point, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, anything else coming up, or?
No, that's about it. Blackened Mirror, Happy Hunting. You know, we have lots of good Halloween goodies on the next Happy Hunting. Come Friday to the Garden of Dreams at 3 SLT and screen it with us. Enjoy. It's always nice. And I know Designing Worlds has been working away. You know, all of Safia's endeavors have been perking along.
Yes, I haven't seen it. I have great difficulty getting a decent feed, a decent resolution feed of Designing Worlds, but they did. I presume it was an interview source with Dave Burton up at Dayton in Coventry about the virtual library project in Birmingham. This is Birmingham, UK, built a brand new library that is just open. It's sort of described as the library of the future. But the interesting thing is that Dayton, their consultants, literally built the prototype inside a virtual world. I forget whether they used Second Life or OpenSim, but it was literally all the design and construction prototype and everything was done virtually.
Neat.
And then the architects just went in and built it as it was virtualized.
Nice.
So great stuff there. So check out that program if you can find a way of getting to Street TV.
I would like to mention one more thing that I just remembered, which I can't believe I almost forgot. But the terms of service meeting from yesterday is the audio, and I'm sure some films too by now are already out. We have a tape of the almost full 3-hour broadcast on Vimeo now too. Through the courtesy of View TV. So it's a long watch. It's not the best film I ever did. And, I'm not trying to pretend that it's a terrific machinima, but all of the audio is there, and that's the most important part. So,
And yeah, and by this time tomorrow, it will be on this channel too.
uh-huh.
It'll
Yeah.
be just
So,
it just be inserted after the show, so that's sort of
Yeah.
standalone.
yeah.
So that's fine. And yeah, I looked at all the feeds today and everything coming in, and like I haven't actually seen any details of recordings. Or well, I hadn't at the time we went live on.
It's hard to process something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was 5 gigabytes on my hard drive.
Oh.
I got it down to 1.5 after rendering and compressing it, and each
Oh.
step took 3 hours.
Oh.
I think I spent about 10 or 11 hours on that since yesterday. Just, trying to get it into some kind of presentable format because people were in a hurry for it.
Yeah. Well,
So it's there. But
I was in here last night, and the first thing that happened when I logged in to come to Mankind's thing is I got a group message from Mama Machinima saying, "Is it available anywhere?"
yeah.
I just said yes. It may take a while to be, but this time I thought it was going
Yeah.
to take you a couple of days. But there's
I
great
thought it
stuff.
would, but I decided to get it out and over with because how else do things get done? So,
Okay, so Kylie, great to have you here. Hope it won't be the last time. Maybe we'll cover some other topics as well at some point. Although actually at this rate, we'll still be talking about TOS in a year's time, the way this thing is rolling.
Oh, I
Uh,
hope not.
anything exciting happening in the next week or two from your point of view, apart from mega discussions on TOS?
The letter to Linden Lab goes out tomorrow morning. They have until the 25th to respond, at which
Right.
time we kick into major publicity in world and out of world. I'm going to start submitting articles to real world magazines,
Mm.
as well as encouraging other writers to do the same.
cool.
And then also we will begin contacting the government agencies. We want Linden Lab to sit down and work this out with us. If they do, wonderful. If not, we do have plan B.
Great. Tossing out the toss. There you are.
Hey, nice.
I like it. Has a
that's-
ring to it.
Yeah, there you go.
Our, our battle cry.
That's your battle cry, courtesy of me and my linguistic talents. Anything else? Anything else unrelated to that is exciting you at the moment? Events, fairs, hunts, venues. Anything you want to plug?
Oh, the Rose Theater has added its sixth sim.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Six
Oh,
Sims. Wow.
enormous.
Six sims,
It's gorgeous.
4 of which are residential. So people can live and experience the lifestyle of the Rose now.
Oh my goodness. That's lovely.
We've had a lot of machinima from them, about both concert footages and also just landscape shots of the destination. It looks really beautiful. I've never really explored it. I've been to the Rose Theatre itself a few times, but not the. So, I haven't had a chance to look around the surrounding sim, but it looks gorgeous. It really does.
Oh, it is
I-
gorgeous. You have to go explore
I think
it.
a great trivia game would be to guess how many rooms there are in the Rose because we don't know.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I went back to take a picture for, for the film, for the toss meeting film, and I just kept taking all these wonderful, gorgeous pictures. I was like, stop. You have to stop. Pick one. It was hard. And I wound up going to your website, I think, and using one that was already on your website, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, Kaya
So,
has a
You'll
nice
see
style.
it. So,
Yeah, great music venue too. And who does the? Actually, I don't know who does the excellent machinima filming done at the Rose Theatre. I don't know if it's the same person every
Beautiful,
time.
sure.
It's normally
It
just
is Kaya Angel. If you see it on our website, Kaya Angel does it, and he does a beautiful job.
yeah.
And of course, many people come through and shoot.
No, the most of them are really well. It's just not well, not it's just well shot and everything, but well edited, and it's got that sort of mixed. It's just very well mixed. Machinimas are also great performances as well.
I'll let him know. Thank you.
Great. Bring him along to our next machinima discussion when it comes up. Okay, so Tara, any closing thoughts from you that we haven't covered yet?
uh-oh.
I see Tara
Oh yes, my lips are moving, but
She's
my
here.
But the
but I
lights
was,
are
but I
off.
yes, the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Nice camera action.
Yes, it always helps if one unmutes oneself before one starts to talk. Well, I was going to say, I started saying that there will certainly be some additions to the stage decorations between now and next week in observation of the foolishness of the holiday. No, it's not a holiday, but the Halloween silliness. And other than that, I suspect I'm going to continue to do some prim mangling and arranging. I have been recently fascinated with some wonderful woods paths and falling leaves and flowing leaves that can be put in water. And so I know I'm going to be playing some more with those. So
Oh, goody.
that'll keep me out of mischief.
We took a little bit of footage yesterday, didn't we, of your new lander. Basically, you moved from Nowhereville to
To
Edlow.
Edlow, yeah, still within the Five Islands. Well, and I've got land in Chobo and
Yeah, but gone are the tropics, and
yes, I've abandoned the tropics.
You now have a woodland coastline, which is very
Nice.
very nice.
Having fun with
Very like real life.
Yeah.
Yes, much more like real life, except I don't have waterfront.
Just because
In real
you
life.
don't have the coast, you don't have the coastline. Yeah.
Yes.
Move a
Well,
bit
I mean, I can get to it.
west.
I'm partial owner of the community beach, but anyway.
Okay, wonderful stuff. So I think we're going to call it a wrap. As usual, we've gone on plentifully long. My Skype seems to have gone dead again. Oh no! I hear noises in the background.
I think
Okay.
we all just muted ourselves.
Yeah, they just all muted themselves. Yeah, glad they didn't mute me anyway. So, great show, great discussion, and we will of course be back same time, same place next week. Plenty. If you are watching us live today on Sunday 20th, do stay watching, folks, because on Metaverse Week in Review, our parent show continues with a load of arts clips, and starting with machinima, moving to arts, then performance, then lifestyle, and destinations and places in between that. It's all divided up quite carefully, and there's lots of it. So thanks for watching this show, and thanks to all my guests. Petlove Petshop. Thank you, Pet.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm falling asleep, aren't I?
Oh, no.
Kylie Angel Sky.
Thank you.
Without the glasses, I'm trying to read your surnames. Kylie Angel Skyborn. That's it.
That's it. Better known as
Ma-
Kylie Sabra.
Okay, Kylie Sabra. Fine. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, pleasure.
Debs Rgent, thanks as always.
Thank you for having me.
And Panther Chanel. Thank you, Panther.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And of course, my thanks to Tara here. And
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm now clicking on the channel. I'm going to just really try to. I've forgotten about the channel, and it's not. It's not. Sorry.
You're probably clicking on your microwave, Mal.
No, yeah, something like that. No, here we are now. So I'm going to cue the next, cue the intro, and then we're going to be looking at some machinima. So with that, come on, live stream, click, cue. It's called. Okay, it's woken up. It must have gone idle. Live stream is a screensaver, isn't that wonderful? Okay. Bye for now.